I guess I'll tell you about how I ended up here. Like so many people, including many, many hippies that we all know and love, I passed through here a couple of times. My VW bus didn't break down, but I knew within a couple of years this is where I needed to be. I was living out in DC, living in sin with my husband, and we packed it all up, put those dogs and plants and everything in the car, and headed out here just in time to vote down gambling, which turned out to lead my husband Mark into a continuing career in politics, which is a whole nother story. So I got here. It was the first time in my adult life that I didn't have to work. And Mark said, go out and volunteer. Well, I didn't grow up in a family that volunteered, so I kind of started driving around Manitou, and I came here. It was the first stop. And boy, the people that were running this place then said, so what days are you going to volunteer? Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 7? And I was hooked. So that was 19 years ago. This place has a power. So I've served on the board once before, and I'm back now. I was approached by Natalie right during the end of the fire. And I have a history with these kinds of calamities. When I was living in DC, I got the name Catastrophe Kelly because I flew out to LA as a paralegal and within 24 hours was in the Northridge earthquake. Got on the plane, told my boss to fire me, I wasn't staying, got back to DC, was in a car accident on icy roads by the river, the Potomac. Moved here, and there was an earthquake in Fountain, like a 3.9 earthquake on October, I want to say 2nd or 3rd of 1994. So when Natalie asked me to come back, I had no idea what that meant, but certainly found out within a couple of weeks that when we were vandalized. And boy, you're glad Chuck Murphy's on your board when you have vandalism. You talk about the restoration company being there in the half hour. But that was nothing compared to what happened to us this summer. August 9th, Bindu, Manitou, Smokebrush had just moved in. It was the first night of the Story Project. We had Roll Bike. We had a couple of other huge art openings. We had dancing, singing, zombies, zombie crawl. There were at least 7 different things happening here. And sure enough, we were expecting probably 700 people that night. We probably had about 150 in both buildings, and our lovely siren went off across the street. So all the old farts that come here went, oh, well, we'll just go up to the conference room and wait it out. And we're like, no, we're diligent, sorry, out. We ended up just throwing anybody, everybody, bikes, you name it, into the car. Natalie said, let's go to the secret bar. I'm like, I'm not cool enough to know where the secret bar is. What's the secret bar? Well, for those of you who don't know, it's above in Old Colorado City and to the left of, and it's a beautiful little, hey, I'm not that hip. So we get there, and there are 12 or 13 of us, and of course, what are we all doing? iPhones, social media, computers, watching our town be inundated, devastated, in fact. And Natalie looks at me and says, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know. What do you suggest we do? And she said, how about we open up the doors tomorrow and tell everyone to come there. We'll figure out where they need to go. Bring your shovel, bring your gloves, bring a sandwich, bring your donations. And it was probably one of the most remarkable things. What really led me to realize why I had moved to Manitou. People were biking into town with their shovels balanced on their shoulders. Trucks from Denver showed up to cook hot dogs in the parking lot. Thousands and thousands and thousands. We think at least 3,000 people came through our doors the first 10 days after the flood. We served as the Volunteer Coordination Center. We served as the Disaster Relief Center for the city. We're now serving as a location because the City Hall is not safe yet. The back end goes right over the creek, so we're waiting to get an all okay. So we did that, but in the interim, everybody who had had their art openings on August 9th wanted to reschedule. So the following weekend, we took it from 7 programs to 14. We now had the zombie crawl doing a zombie leg throw contest next to show tunes outside. And Hana Rocky, God bless her, I said, you've got to come down. She shows up in her mud-covered, the same outfit she'd been wearing for weeks at that point, and everybody thought she was part of the zombie crawl. That's Manitou. You just don't know who's coming and who's going. So we've continued to really, really become the center of Manitou. We are your community center. We are your art center. We, because of Natalie mostly, say yes to almost anything. I cut it off at like Satan worship, and there are a few things that I'm going to just absolutely say no to. But yeah, you're out. Take off, Sally. So I am running out of things to say, so I'm probably going to be the shortest speaker. I do want you to know that we rely on this community. I have had so many mentors who have served before me. Part of the reason that I came back again and again and again is because the people that I admire most in this community are the people who founded this center and continue to do all the great, important work. And I felt like I had to be one of the people who grabbed that baton as the leadership needed to be passed on. So please, please, please consider being part of the Manitou Art Center. We couldn't do it without all of you. Thank you.